Hello from London, I'm Gavin Ramjaun and this is Arise News. Welcome to Global Sports Report. Lots coming up on today's show, including an expert panel of guests and all of this. The great golfing gaffe. The world's top golfers turn their backs on the Rio Olympics. Money, money, money. The sports teams that are proving it is, after all, a rich man's world. And Euro flop. We'll look back on Euro 2016. Critics have labelled the tournament as lacklustre and overblown. Hello from Global Sports Report. The Zika virus is claiming more Olympic casualties as the Rio Games approach. The virus, which has engulfed parts of South America and Brazil specifically, is causing some top sporting names to pull out. But some international golfers are being accused of using the virus as an excuse to avoid the Games. This week, Briton Rory McIlroy controversially tried to justify his decision.
I mean, I don't feel like I've let the game down at all. I mean, it's not, I didn't get into golf to try and grow the game. I tried to get into golf to win championships and win major championships. And all of a sudden you get to this point and there's a responsibility on you to grow the game. And I get that, but at the same time, that's not the reason that I got into golf. I got into golf to win. I didn't get into golf to get other people into the game. But like I get where different people come from and different people have different opinions. But I'm very happy with the decision that I've made, and I have no regrets about it. And I'll probably watch the Olympics, but I'm not sure golf will be one of the events I'll watch.
Which events will you watch in that case?
Probably the events that track and field, swimming, diving, the stuff that matters.
Well, strong words there. Well, Rory McIlroy isn't alone. The world's other top golfers, Jason Day, Dustin Johnson and Jordan Spieth, have all withdrawn over health concerns from the mosquito-borne virus. So what is this doing to the reputation of golf as a sport? And are these players just using Zika as an excuse to focus on the major tournaments, which bring them the most financial rewards? Well, I'm joined in the studio now by our analysts Adi Oladipo and Ernest Apuni. Gents, great to see you again, as always. So should they be playing? Do you think they should be playing at the Olympics? It's the sort of flagship event, really, isn't it, for every sporting figure out there?
There's a bit of a parallel with this particular story going back to what happened with tennis back in about 1988 and the question marks. Is that the sport that should be in the Olympics? And over time, it has now established itself as almost a blue-ribbon event. So I think it feels as though there's a missed opportunity to actually create a certain layer of prestige for the sport and a different award. And it's once every 4 years, so you'd think you'd take advantage of the opportunity. So a bit disappointing, particularly as there was a lot of work that went into getting golf into the Olympics. Granted, the top four at that time were a different bunch of players who fully endorsed the application to get in. It's a pity that those who are now at the helm of the game don't feel it's something they want to push forward and actually create that legacy for.
What do you think, Adi?
Look, Rory McIlroy has come out and clearly said, and he said this a few times, that as a youngster growing up, he didn't think about the Rio Olympics. He didn't think about any Olympics. He thought about the green jacket, which you get for winning the Masters, and claret jugs, which is the other trophy you get. That's all they thought about. It's not an Olympic sport. I think that the IOC are trying to push it as an Olympic sport because golfers have the star power name. At the time, obviously, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, Ernie Els. Yeah. That's the golfers that are around when they really tried to push it.
Definitely.
And those golfers are interested. These golfers just simply aren't. And I think they should maybe look at withdrawing it. If 8 out of the top 10 golfers don't want to be there, and they're using the Zika virus as an excuse, which we don't know, I think it's an excuse to not be there, why make them be there? There's other tournaments that are trying to get there, like squash. They've tried for years and can't get in there. Wrestling, they want to remove that, wants to be there. So why they push for golf? There's an underlying thing that IOC are doing, and it's because it generates money. And that's all it is. If it didn't generate money, they wouldn't be pushing golfers to be there.
And is it all about the money then? Is it all about money for the players and for the IOC, as you mentioned, Adi? Because the players want to essentially earn money for their time, and the golf calendar is quite packed with not only the majors, but you've got the lucrative, the Bridgestone Invitational, for example, the BMW Opens. They're all quite a lot of prize money at stake within those.
Admittedly, however, is there not something about a launch pad? Again, tennis example. Andy Murray has now got 3 Grand Slam titles, but the thing that really put him in that place mentally of knowing I can win a big one was when he won the Olympics in 2012. And so, and again, to his mind, he's treating it almost like a 5th major. He's formed his whole year around it. And to my mind, that's where golf could get to, because actually, what's the difference of one tournament with not a lot of money? It's not like they're struggling at the moment, but there's something about the Olympic ideal that potentially golf could be contributing to, and it feels like a missed opportunity on the men's side, because the majority of the top women are actually participating, aren't they?
That's right, absolutely. So you've got your Michelle Wees playing, Lydia Ko. They're going to be there, representing their countries. Justin Rose is going to be representing Team GB. He's a big name in the world of golf, and he's very much for it. Very much saying I want to come home with an Olympic gold medal, and that's kind of that should be an incentive, surely, coming home with that Olympic gold medal.
I don't know, when all said and done in your career as a golfer, that you put your Masters jacket there, you put your claret and jug jacket for winning the Open, and then you put the Olympic gold as look at. I don't think you do it. I remember clearly when Roger Federer got beat by Andy Murray at the 2012 Olympics. I've seen Roger Federer lose semi-finals and finals, and he's distraught. He lost to Andy Murray, and it was almost a smile and a congratulations, like, oh, well done. I don't think the top players in other sports really care too much about it. Same with basketball. America, a few superstars from America, NBA have decided not to go. LeBron James has kind of said, I don't want to go. Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors, said, I don't want to go. The top achievers in other sports don't look at the Olympic Games as their be-all and end-all, what the likes of athletics and swimming do. Olympics can't just force these sports and sports stars to somehow put Olympics as a priority when they don't want to.
Just a quickie on the Justin Rose one as well. I think, it's probably something within the family, because I believe his wife was an Olympian, gymnast perhaps. And again, he's probably been closer to seeing what the Olympics can mean, and he's maybe put it, it's not about golf, it's about the Olympics. And it'd be great if they could build a legacy and put it in that sort of sphere, I suppose.
When you sort of take it from that point of view then, should the Olympics purely be more about the minority sports then, your gymnastics, your swimming,
100%.
and track and field? Because track and field, the funding for track and field is nothing in the likes of golf, basketball, soccer, if you want to call it soccer. It's not in the same league, is it? So the Olympics should serve perhaps as a platform for those sports rather than the other big boys.
100%. You look at someone like Usain Bolt. Look, Usain Bolt made his name from the Olympics. And that's what it does. It propels you. Once you do something in the Olympics, it propels you. Tom Daley. People had never heard of Tom Daley before. Again, the Olympics. It propels sports that are kind of not into the bigger world, not on TV every other single week. And it propels those superstars. The other superstars are already superstars. They don't need us to propel them. And I think let's kind of focus on the sports that are there and make them bigger and make those athletes earn some real good money. There's a lot of athletes in the Olympics that are part-time athletes. Without the Olympics, there is no fund and there is no sport for them. Focus on those. Don't focus on the millionaire superstars that don't want to turn up. Focus on the ones that do want to turn up and make them household names rather than ones that are already household names that simply don't want to go. And Rory McIlroy is one of those people now that evidently does not want to go.
Well, he wasn't on the fence about that, was he? He said so. Yeah. Although he's had Road to Damascus experience, he spoke in similar terms about the Ryder Cup. And then I think he experienced it and he thought, actually, this is absolutely at the top of the game. So I almost wonder, maybe it's one of those things, had he gone, would he have found the same kind of buzz from being at the Olympics?
It hasn't been on the Olympics since 1904, so it's a relatively untried sport on the agenda.
Will it stay in the Olympics is the question.
Yeah.
Well, they're not making a great case for it. When you've got sports like squash beaten down the door and a few others wanting to get in, if you don't really want the spot, I'm sure there'll be others that might take it. And, when it comes to reviewing it, they might think, well, did you really want the spot or not?
Yeah, and when it comes to going to the sort of the smaller time athletes, if you like, and the minority sports on there, the equipment and the funding that they can get from being part of the Olympics is almost crucial to their livelihood, isn't it? So, you know, getting the branding and the endorsement deals and the platform to showcase their sport to the world, that's where it matters, really, isn't it?
Yeah, if they don't get Olympic funding, they just don't exist. And if they don't, I say don't exist, they're not able to get the right training, the right strength and condition coaches. It goes to that kind of basic stuff. They don't get Olympic funding, they don't have that kind of, you know, we're going to win Olympic gold. That doesn't happen. So it's important to them to get everything they can out of the Olympics. They'll, you know, a lot of these athletes, once they're told they're going to Olympics, endorsements just come straight through like that.
They do.
And it opens the door for new endorsements. Rory McIlroy, Jason Day, do they need endorsements? They turn endorsements down.
Exactly.
They don't need any more, and I think that's where it's got to draw the line. We need to look at the minority sports, as you say, the people that we don't know about, boost those up so they can become superstars, and then you never know for 2020.
Adi, Ernest, thank you very much indeed for that. Stay with us as we move on to talk about the world's richest sports club, and you'll be surprised at some of the ones on the top of the list. Question, I thought we would wrap it then. Now, the Forbes Rich List has been released, and among the categories to stir debate is the world's most wealthy sports teams. For the first time, a soccer team hasn't come top. The honour goes to the NFL's Dallas Cowboys with a value of $4 billion. Real Madrid of La Liga are second with $3.65 billion, and Barcelona third with $3.55 billion. Manchester United of the English Premier League are in fifth place. Andy and Ernest are still here. Are you surprised at Dallas Cowboys topping the list? I mean, it's almost like you sort of don't consider the NFL in the same breadth of the Premier League and our league of big boys in some senses. But Dallas Cowboys top the list?
I guess it's a bit of a comment, isn't it? Because we talk about football being the world's game and it's a global sport. But I think it probably demonstrates the size of just the United States market alone. Because I'm pretty sure it's not just American football clubs in there. I'm sure there's some basketball ones as well.
There are, yeah. The Knicks. Yeah.
So for argument's sake, they haven't really got to have the same appeal and reach as football globally, but they can certainly make the merchandising and the opportunity to actually get money from outside of the actual sport itself to count. So not entirely surprising. The football clubs that are on there are the ones that have got genuine global reach, demonstration of the fact of, I won't say it too loud, but Liverpool aren't on that top 10 list. I think that number
Neither
41.
are Arsenal.
No, I think you're top 20-something, 23rd, something like that.
Thank you, Gavin.
But that is because of the fact, I suppose.
Andy being a Liverpool fan, of course.
Exactly. It's that the market that we have locally here feels so present, but you've almost got to take that step out globally if you're going to be up there. And the American market is just enormous, clearly.
The money is ripe in the American market, isn't it? And the NFL have done a lot to one, bring on the game in the States, but also to develop it into a massive money-making machine, haven't they? And the Dallas Cowboys are part of the operation there. There are so many other franchises which make billions too.
Yeah, Dallas Cowboys have this fantastic new stadium as well, which obviously generates more income. You've got to go to America on a Sunday to experience what an NFL game is like. The streets are quiet. I mean, NFL runs America on a Sunday. There's nothing else. I was reading it recently where you don't put boxing on the Sunday, you don't put anything else on a Sunday because NFL will take that whole reach. And it just doesn't stem from NFL. It kind of goes down to college football as well. Yeah. College football's massive in America, and then it goes on to NFL. College football generates income. College football generates TV revenue. So can you imagine what NFL would do? I'm shocked by it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm shocked because, yes, America has this big reach, but it's just America. And you kind of think of football as being whole of Europe, China, America as well, now Major League Soccer. Dallas Cowboys as well haven't won the Super Bowl since 1995. Yeah. So it's not like they're this team that have just gone on a run and winning every trophy out there. They've not won anything for 21 years. No. And they're still the number one. So I'm shocked by it, but I expect NBA to be there soon. There is a few, I think, like you said, New York Knicks, LA Lakers. Yeah. They'll be up there between 1 and 2 soon because they're going to get sponsorships on jerseys, which they've never had
Very
before.
true.
So you can imagine the money that's going to generate from that. I mean, Man United are only there because of their Adidas deal. Yeah. So you can imagine the money the New York Knicks are going to get for Chevrolet on their jersey or anything like that. It's going to be ridiculous. So expect them to be right up there as well.
Really interesting point that is. And also the way the rights are going at the moment too, the way that, it's not just television rights, you've got internet rights now and mobile rights too. So the NFL, I know, are pioneering a bit of a franchise with Twitter to live stream games via the social network. Whether how long it is, I'm not entirely sure, but it might be 90-second clips every few minutes or so. But that again is another money-making idea for them, isn't it? And that you can almost sort of see that working in other sports too.
Absolutely, Zen. And just talking about that social media interplay, perhaps there's something for us to learn from here, because potentially that the extension of the reach you get from something virtual, as opposed to depending upon people necessarily paying $1 over a counter, and finding innovative ways of actually spreading the brand and generating income. Potentially there might be opportunities. You could see a Liverpool or an Arsenal or a Manchester United or a Spurs these are actually world-renowned brand names, and perhaps it's just about thinking slightly out of the box about how you generate different sorts of income, perhaps.
Let's also not forget as well, with NFL and NBA coming over here now on a regular basis.
Yeah, NFL's getting big here,
NFL's getting big here on the Wembley. You can't get a ticket, love nor money, once they play here. NBA play at the O2 Arena as well. So as much as they are American sports, they are trying to bring themselves across Europe because they know there's a big fan base here, and I think they've seen it. So don't expect, it won't be too long as a European NFL league, I believe so. And there's obviously a European NBA league, but it's not that big. But a European NFL league will just make it even bigger. So I think that's ways to generate more income as well for the NFL.
Very true. When you look at sort of further afield from Europe and from America, are China a real superpower on the horizon? Because they're investing a lot in football at the moment, aren't they? It's probably a few years away, but could you see China, a Chinese team or a Chinese group breaking into that elite soon, maybe?
I think it's not beyond the realms of possibility at the moment, purely because of the amount of money that's actually in that part of the world and in the sport. I'm not sure at the moment, again, whether the innovation we're talking about is where they're at, but that would certainly give them, because they've already got a huge platform. And some of the players, people like Cisse has left Newcastle, he's gone out there. I'm pretty sure there are talks about other guys as well. I'm sure Gomez is in there.
Pele from Southampton, who's done well for Italy in the Euros, has gone out. That's a big name.
Exactly, and it's a current big name.
Ramirez from Chelsea as well.
Yeah, there's a lot going. Thank you very much, guys, for now. Still to come on the programme, the great Euro flop. Critics savage Euro 2016 as the tournament ends with a whimper. Welcome back to Global Sports Report from Arise News. I'm Gavin Ramjaun. So Euro 2016 is over and Portugal have been crowned champions. But now that the dust has settled on the tournament, questions are being asked as to how a team that came third in their qualifying group still managed to make it to the final and lift the trophy. After all, Portugal and their star player Cristiano Ronaldo finished 15th out of the 16 teams to advance to the knockout stages, and Portugal's goal difference was 0. Well, critics are ridiculing a group stage that eliminates only 8 out of 24 teams. Portugal advanced out of the groups after draws with Iceland, Austria and Hungary. So you can win the Euros by winning once in 90 minutes. Yes, Portugal didn't lose a game, but at the end of a lacklustre tournament, which had very few games to remember, the football here could be the loser overall. Sports analysts Adi Oladipo and Ernest Apuni are still with me. Gents, so was this a really bad tournament for football then? Did you just think it was a turn-off in terms of what was going on the field?
Not especially. There are some standout moments. Certainly, I thought the performance of Wales is something that should be lauded. The moment that, dare I say it, Iceland had, including what happened against England, is a standout moment. And I suppose there were certain matches that we were looking towards for a bit more thrill and spill, like France versus Germany was a pretty tense, terse affair, but probably didn't have all the fireworks that we were actually expecting. But maybe that's not what the key thing is in a tournament like that. We talked about Portugal. What they did, in my opinion, is actually they managed the tournament. Whereas if you look, dare I say it, at a team like England, at times they were kind of managing things minute to minute. It wasn't almost this bigger picture and this clarity about the approach and the philosophy behind what they're trying to do. In a tournament where you've got potentially extra time and penalties, if that's going to play to your strengths and you manage that game as that part of the tournament in that way.
Sure. Addy, when it comes to increasing the number of teams, so an extra 8 this time around, did that have a real marked difference on the standard of play, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I remember when we all was together and we spoke about the World Cup.
Yeah.
And they increased the number of teams at the World Cup, and we got some thrilling games. We got Japan beating South Africa, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And some other standout games as well. The introduction of teams like Romania and so I don't think so. I mean, look, we wouldn't have seen Northern Ireland get through to the knockout stage if that was the case. Republic of Ireland again, Wales probably. You know, so it showed us that there are some other teams in Europe. You know, it's far too long has it been the likes of Italy and Germany and France. Let's see some new breed and new blood, and I think Iceland showed that as well.
And Hungary as
and
well.
Hungary,
They
exactly.
played well.
There you go. So I think
Impressive.
that wasn't the problem. I think the problem was this third place for the best third place teams going through, and that's what Portugal was. I think that was a problem. So it's almost like you could practically do nothing in your group and still get through to the knockout stage, which kind of Portugal did.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I think there's a case of starting slow and getting better as you go along. And I think Portugal knocked out Croatia. Croatia were many people's dark horses to win the whole tournament.
They were.
You know, Portugal done that. You know, they beat France quite convincingly, I thought, without one of the world's best players. So it wasn't all doom and gloom. No. It wasn't the best tournament, let's not lie. Sometimes I wonder these massive seasons where players are playing 65, 60, 70 games a season now, it is just too much. And then, 2-3 weeks rest and then having to play a tournament like this where games are every 3 or 4 days, that's a lot to do. That's a lot on your legs.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but in terms of adding other European teams, I think it's a good thing. I think it stretches Europe a bit more to show there are other football nations here. And I think that's a great thing. And I think long should that be lauded. I just didn't like the idea of, these third place finishes. I think that's silly. But apart from that, not a bad tournament.
But I guess a real tournament team actually plays within itself. So you don't extend yourself, okay, Portugal cut it fine because there was, that last game where they actually have that spectacular draw is what got them through. But the Germans are experts at that. They grow into a tournament.
Yeah.
The majority of their energy is not expended in stressing themselves out in qualifying. It's about managing it and then gradually building up from there. Because, to win the tournament, it's 7 matches. So not each match is the absolute event. It's part of a journey. Yeah. And as a result, if part of the journey is finishing third and then handling yourself for the rest of it, hats off to you.
There seems to be a big disrespect from the bigger nations to the smaller nations. Every time a smaller... I remember when Greece won it. Yeah. Greece won it. It's almost like, there must be a review of this. How can Greece win this tournament? How dare one of our big nations not win? And now same thing with Portugal. Like, how dare, the Germans or the French not win it? What's happened? There must be something wrong.
Well, even the Portuguese at the start, when I think Iceland drew with them, even Ronaldo was just like, they're only a small nation.
Yeah, like, what the hell?
It's their biggest day in their history, or something along the lines.
And I think there's a big disrespectful thing there.
Yeah.
Like England losing to Iceland.
Yeah.
As though England should just go there and beat Iceland because, we're England and they're Iceland with only a small population. Doesn't work like that anymore. Every single team has a star player. If you look at the tournament, every team has a star player or someone that's known in there. And there can always be shocks. And Portugal have a star player, but beyond that, there's not much in that Portugal. So I think they've done a real good job of doing this so far and getting so far and winning the tournament. And I think they should be applauded rather than look at kind of where it's gone wrong and how were Portugal able to win. They won it because they won it.
And they did have some players that maybe people didn't necessarily know much about going into the tournament, like Renato Sanchez.
Yes.
Even though he's now he was a brilliant player, wasn't he? And he's gone to Bayern Munich for about 30 million or so, hasn't he? So star of the future, only 18 years old. And the goalkeeper, Rui Patricio, as well.
Fantastic.
Had a great tournament too.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talent within that team that's been unearthed through this tournament that's just gone. I mean, that's what the Euros is all about, really, as well, isn't it? You've got your headline players like your Ronaldos, Rooney's, although he didn't really perform this time round, Gareth Bale's, but it's players that are sort of, on the fringes that can really step up and make a mark, like Hal Robson-Kanu and people like that who've got the opportunity.
Out of contract.
Yeah, out of contract, exactly.
Looking for a club and then bang. And it kind of reminds me of what we spoke about earlier with the Olympic Games, where you have these players that no one knows, people that no one knows, and you're given an opportunity in a big venue, a big arena to kind of show what you can do. And there's something there for you. And I think, like you say, Renato Sanchez, Robson-Kanu, and there's others in the Iceland team. There's a defender for Iceland, his name skips me now, played awesome against England. Played awesome against France, even though they conceded so many goals, played awesome. And that's what the Euros is about.
Dawson, I think it was.
And that's what the Euros is about, kind of moving on from there and creating star players. Not just the same big names, not just the same big teams. I want to see a new name on the trophy. I don't want a repeat of the, of France are going to dominate and now Spain are going to dominate and now Germany. No, let's mix it up a bit, and I think it's fantastic for the game. I think it helps the game,
agree.
bro.
I do agree, and there's something about also the whole values set about team, because the examples you've just given are solid team units, pull for each other, no egos. Everybody sort of backs to the wall. There are 11 of us. We're all pushing the same sort of weight. And along with that comes a test of temperament, which again is how you win tournaments, because it's not just about the sheer pure talent. It's how you manage the tournament. It's how you deal with the pressure moments. Dare I say it, obviously I'm sure all of us were a bit sad to see what happened with England. But as that match against Iceland progressed, they became more and more desperate. To the point where very basic technical things, people stepping over 5-yard passes, started to happen because the temperament and the stress had got too hard and too high for them, which is where, looking at Iceland, they managed with what they had and they went as far as they could go, and hats off to them.
Very, very briefly, gents, what was your highlight of the tournament then?
Robson Kanu's turn. It was messy, wasn't it? It was messy in disguise, honestly. It was messy in disguise. That Robson Kanu turn against a good Belgian team.
Yeah.
Highlight tournament.
And
I think dare I say it, I'd actually, as much as it was painful to watch, I thought the Iceland win against England, and I almost found myself standing up and doing the big old kind of thunder roar thing because it was so cool, wasn't it?
Best chant ever.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Gents, thank you very much indeed. Pleasure to see you as always. That's it from this edition of Global Sports Report here on Horizon News from London. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.